Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Altasciences webinar and podcast channel. My name is Mike Stenberg. I'm Senior Director of Business Development at Altasciences, and I'll be co-hosting our new podcast with Teresa Chong. Teresa is the CEO of BioPharma Connections, which is a consultant company that specializes in strategic business development, supporting life sciences companies. Today on our consultant series, where globally recognized consultants discuss how they're addressing some of the most pressing issues in drug development, we're excited to welcome our special guest, Dr. Daniel Levy.
Dr. Levy is the founder and CEO of BioPharma, a consulting company that provides R&D support to biotech and pharma companies. Dr. Levy is also the author and editor of 4 chemistry books, covering topics spanning from the organic chemistry of sugars to strategies that help organic chemistry students minimize memorization and increase understanding. Daniel, thank you so much for being here with us today. To start, I thought it would be fun to get to know you a bit better. So for the first question, how did you originally get into drug development and more specifically consulting for pharmaceutical and biotech companies?
Wow. Okay. How did I get into drug development? Teresa, how far back would you like me to go?
Take us all the way back.
all the way back. Well, I decided when I was in the second grade that I was going to be a chemist, but who knows what a chemist does when they're in the second grade. So when I made it all the way into college, I started taking organic chemistry classes, and I found the really wonderful relationship between organic chemistry and how they can impact biological function. And I knew that's where I wanted to go, particularly in helping to address medical needs that were not met by current technologies. So that's really how I got into drug discovery. I went on from my undergraduate work to get a PhD in synthetic organic chemistry from MIT, and went straight to work for industry. And I had held 4 full-time positions over the course of my career. Each of those companies were quite successfully purchased by larger entities and then shut down, which of course necessitated my need to look for new work. And when the economy changed, I guess it was roughly in the 2008 timeframe, it became more difficult to find full-time work. So I started building my consulting practice, BioPharma. I started by offering medicinal chemistry services, which was the core of my professional experience, and quickly realized that in the consulting arena, more companies were looking for development services. So I quickly expanded to do process development and manufacturing for API. And then I brought into that formulation development and manufacturing. So now through BioPharma, I provide everything from medicinal chemistry services, providing milligram quantities of APIs for various projects, going all the way through manufacturing to produce multi-kilogram quantities for clinical trials and for commercial supply chains. And I do exactly the same thing for drug product manufacturing, with additional supporting services to expand IP and also to help with regulatory filings.
Fantastic. I love that story. It's really great how early you started with a love for chemistry. Okay, thank you.
So Daniel, what would you say is the most important thing to know when you're developing your manufacturing program?
Now, easy question for me. You've got to know your client. Pharma manufacturing is a general strategy, but clients have varying levels of understanding about how manufacturing processes proceed. So sometimes your clients will be well versed and will understand the costs and timelines. Other times, your clients might not be calibrated and need to be helped along with the requirements at each stage of development. So it's really important to know who you're working with, what their level of understanding and level of experience is with regards to all CMC processes, so that you can provide the best services to your client.
Okay, Dan, for the next question, can you please describe your business model and what companies can expect when partnering with you?
Thanks, Teresa. So as I mentioned before, my business actually covers medicinal chemistry all the way through route scouting and process development. In addition, I provide API manufacturing and drug product development and manufacturing services. Additional services support intellectual property development, and drafting regulatory documentation such as CMC sections for INDs, IMPDs, etc. The target audience BioPharma are virtual and semi-virtual companies. Larger companies are outside of my range because they already have established personnel in-house that do exactly what I do. Through Dell BioPharma, I provide very personalized relationships to my clients. I design programs that are based upon project needs and understandings of client goals. All contract labs that I work with must meet at least one of the following criterion. They must have direct and positive experience working with Dell BioPharma, or they must come to Dell BioPharma with a very strong recommendation from close and trusted colleagues. Or finally, they must be specifically requested by the client company. This last point is important because it gives me the opportunity to expand my network and build relationships with companies that I previously had not worked with.
So, switching gears a little bit, what are the top 3 things that you look for in a CDMO partner? And then, how do you form a strategic partnership with them to reach your clients' goals?
Well, that's a great question, Mike. Realistically, when you're working with contract labs, you always want to make sure that the contract lab has the ability and the desire to have a collaborative relationship. No one person has all of the answers. So bringing in the skills and knowledge of the contract labs, and the contract labs were recognizing that you also have uh, valuable information and experience to bring to the table will always result in a better product. Contract labs should also have a strong track record of success across the board. And finally, and this is perhaps most important, that contract labs must have a strict adherence to quality guidelines. I should point out that project cost should never be the primary criterion. Now, you have to recognize that budget issues are always going to be there with your clients, especially when you're working with small companies like what Dell BioPharma's client base and audience is. But in order to address those cost issues, it's also quite prudent to get multiple bids from qualified vendors so that you do have reality checks on costs and timelines. So it's really important to start with a mutual recognition that all parties bring value to the table and then build out from there.
All right, to close, Dan, let's start with our 3-part question. Are you in?
Absolutely.
Okay. What do you like to do outside of work? What motto do you live by? And can you tell the audience one fun fact about yourself?
Wow. Well, which would you like to hear first?
Your choice.
My, we'll go in your order then. What do I like to do outside work? I love outdoor activities, skiing, camping, and travel, particularly travel because I love learning about other cultures and going places, seeing how other people live and enjoying their foods and learning about their cultures. So what about the motto that I live by? This might sound a little corny. It comes from my childhood, and it's really just because I haven't done it does not mean that I don't know how to do it. And this has really served me very well in both the professional activities I pursue as well as outside professional. But one particular example is when I first started consulting, I built my own contract chemistry laboratory. And one of my clients approached me asking if I could produce a novel heterobifunctional polyethylene glycol reagent. Well, I had never touched a polyethylene glycol at the time, and so I said, sure, I can do it. And that contract actually turned into a full-time position. So it was one of my more successful um, activities, relationships, and comes directly from this motto. Finally, you wanted to know about fun fact. I love spicy food. I grow the world's hottest peppers in my backyard, ghost peppers, Carolina Reapers, and I've been known to order the hottest dishes on menu in restaurants and have had my photograph posted on their walls with a label, Mr. Spicy Guy. So don't be afraid of capsaicin. It's fun.
Fantastic. I love your answers. very, very cool to get to know you a bit better.
Well, it's been fun to be here.
Thank you.
Daniel, those are great answers. Thanks for sharing and thanks for being here. And thank all of you for listening today. Be sure to check out our other webinars, videos, and podcasts on the Altasciences webinars and podcast channel. Thanks again and goodbye.